Session for the 33rd Guam Youth Congress is hereby called to order. Representatives, please stand. Vice Speaker Lebeng will lead us in the prayer.
In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Lord, guide us today for all the decisions that we're going to make today that would make our island better and for the future of our island. I hope that you give us wisdom and grace so that we can do our jobs as Youth Congress representatives. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen.
Vice Speaker Lebeng for the national anthem.
Oh, say, see,
Representative Flores. Representative Flores for the Unifresti. Mrs. Osmossi, please take your seat. We will begin with roll call. Representative Camacho.
Here.
Representative Camacho, present. Representative Chung.
Here.
Representative Chung, present. Representative Common.
Present.
Representative Common, present. Representative DeHelig.
Yes, agreed to.
Representative DeHelig, present. Representative DeGracia.
Present.
Representative DeGracia, present. Representative Flores.
Yagizo.
Representative Flores, present. Representative Franchino.
Here.
Representative Franchino, present. Representative Gale.
Present.
Representative Gale, present. Vice Speaker Lebeng.
present.
Representative Vice Speaker Lebeng, present. Representative Lagman. Representative Chloe Lazama.
Present.
Representative Chloe Lazama, present. Representative Makepeace.
Present.
Representative Makepeace, present. Representative Matsanani. Representative Pareda. Representative Kijicho. Representative Rosario. Representative Ujoa.
Present.
Representative Ujoa, present. Representative Nico Valencia.
Present.
Representative Valencia, present. Representative Villanueva. Representative Wang. Representative Yabut. Present. Representative Yablett, present. We have a quorum. Okay. Majority Leader Makepeace, your motion to waive items 7 through 11.
Madam Speaker, I make a motion to waive items 7 through 11.
There's been a motion to waive items 7 through 11. Are there any objections? Hearing or seeing none, motion passes. Okay. Representative Makepeace, your motion to waive items 12, the introduction and first reading of bills and resolutions.
Madam Speaker, I make a motion to waive item 12 from the session agenda.
There's been a motion to waive items 12 on the session agenda. Are there any objections? Hearing or seeing none, motion passes. We are now on motions. Any representative wish to speak? Vice Speaker LeBang, you're recognized. My apologies. Representative Makepeace, your motion for notwithstanding to add bills 3-33, Bill 12-33, and Resolution 15-33 to the session agenda. Representative Makepeace, on your motion to add Bill number 3-33, 12-33, and Resolution 15-33 to add to our session agenda.
Madam Speaker, I move to add bills number 3-33, bill 12-33, and resolution 15-33 onto the session agenda.
Sizos Maasi, there's been a motion to add 2 bills and 1 resolution to our session agenda. Are there any objections? Hearing or seeing none, motion passes. We are now on motions. Vice Speaker LeBang, you're recognized.
Madam Speaker, I move to place Bill 3-33 to the second reading file.
There's been a motion to move Bill 3-33 into the second reading file for discussion. Are there any objections? Hearing or seeing none, motion passes. Vice Speaker LeBang, you may proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker and colleagues, before I address the facts of Bill 3-33, I want to commend the Public Policy Institute headed by Jasmine Lin, Gabby Kim, and Dylan Kim for taking time and initiative to collaborate with the Guam Youth Congress in coming up with a substituted version of Bill 3-33. And as part of the Guam Youth Congress, I hope that we have more collaboration between the Public Policy Institute and the Guam Youth Congress. Vaping and nicotine are essentially harmful for the community, especially for those who have increased health risk. In the Guam legislature, in the 35th Guam legislature, the expansion of the Natasha Protection Act of 2005, which included vaping as a product. Taxing vaping products in the same way we tax cigarettes and alcohol could lead to deterrence in purchasing the products in the first place. Vaping, especially among the youth, is dangerous and could lead to lifelong addiction to nicotine. The U.S. Surgeon General, Vice Admiral Jerome M. Adams, sent an advisory on December 2018 about e-cigarettes epidemic among youth. In the advisory, it stressed that nicotine usage among adolescents stunts brain development and leads to other respiratory problems. Also, addiction to nicotine could also pose a threat to switch over to regular cigarettes, which are more harmful for the body. In 2017, the Guam Department of Public Health and Social Services surveyed 34.6% of students said that they currently use electronic cigarettes. The Johns Hopkins School of Medicine have released 5 facts among vaping. 1, vaping is less harmful than smoking, but it isn't still safe. E-cigarettes heat nicotine flavoring and other chemicals to create an aerosol that you inhale, which regular tobacco cigarettes contain 7,000 chemicals. Many of them are still toxic. There has also been an outbreak of lung injuries and deaths associated with vaping. As of January 21, 2020, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, confirmed 60 deaths in patients with e-cigarettes or vaping product use associated with lung injury. 2. Research suggests vaping is bad for your heart and lungs. Nicotine is primary agent in both regular and e-cigarettes, and it is highly addictive. It causes people to crave a smoke and suffer withdrawal symptoms if ignored. Nicotine is also a toxic substance. It raises your blood pressure and spikes your adrenaline, which increases your heart rate and likelihood of having a heart attack. 3. Electronic cigarettes are just as addictive as your traditional ones. Both e-cigarettes and regular cigarettes contain nicotine, which research suggests may be as addictive as heroin and cocaine. 4. Electronic cigarettes are the best smoking cessation tool. Although they have been marketed as an aid to help you quit smoking, e-cigarettes have not received an FDA approval as smoking cessation products. Recent study found that most people who intended to use e-cigarettes to kick the nicotine habit ended up continuing to smoke both traditional and e-cigarettes. In the light of the epidemic on youth, CDC advises adults who uses e-cigarettes for smoking cessation to weigh the risks and benefits, consider use of other FDA-approved smoking cessations. 5. A new generation is getting hooked on nicotine. Among youth, e-cigarettes are more popular than any traditional tobacco product. In 2015, the U.S. Surgeon General reported that e-cigarettes use among high school students had increased by 940% of youth e-cigarettes users have never smoked regular tobacco. There are 3 reasons e-cigarettes may be particularly enticing to young people. First, many teens believe that vaping is less harmful than smoking. Second, e-cigarettes have lower per-use costs than traditional e-cigarettes. Finally, vape cartridges are often formulated with flavorings such as apple pie, watermelon, and that appeals to younger users. Besides the fact of Bill 3-33, it does not take away liberty of anyone to use vape. However, it gives you an option to use or not use. We all know that our economy suffered devastatingly through the pandemic, and another way we can cope up with our economy is by imposing tax on vape products, which is also a goal of successing vaping. Taxing vape products would also allow us to provide the critical needs for our community. Taxing on vape products are to go to some of the tax on this vape products tax will go to noteworthy causes such as Territorial Educational Facilities Fund, the Healthy Futures Fund, Police Services Fund, and the Public Transit Fund, which all for the usage among the most critical agencies in the government of Guam. Through this tax, we hope to invest in the future in education, healthcare, public transit, and the men and women in blue who protect and serve the island. Madam Speaker and my colleagues, I urge you to support Bill 3-33, and I'll be open if there's any question.
Sizos Masi, Vice Speaker Labang, any representative wish to speak on the matter? We will proceed with Representative Valencia and then move on to Representative Gale. Representative Valencia, you're recognized. Oh, my apologies. Representative DeHelig, then we proceed with Representative Gale.
Sizos Masi, Madam Speaker. I have a question. I have a couple questions to the sponsor of the bill, if you may yield.
Vice Speaker Labang, do you yield to a question?
I do.
Please proceed.
Suggest Masi. My question for the author is, do we know how much it costs right now to purchase an e-cigarette whatnot?
Can you repeat your question? Sorry, I kind of
I
didn't
was
grasp it.
Sounds good. I was wondering if we know how much it costs here on Guam for an e-cigarette.
So based on what I see on store right now, there are usually around $10 to $12 just for the the tool that they're gonna use to inhale the products, but that's exclusive of the juice that they have.
Suggest Masi. I would like to extend some more comments on the bill. I wish I was able to review it like beforehand, but I get the intention of the bill, which is to lower the or maybe this might not be an intention, but it's a side effect of the bill, which would to decrease the usage of vaping amongst our community. And similar measures have been passed to lower the usage of smoking, such as in New Zealand. And I think this is a step in the right direction where we can issue guidance and whatnot for our community to lead a more healthy lifestyle. I do want to gesture on the way that we're going about it, though. I know like taxing could be one of the impacts of having the strongest amount of difference for the communities of lower income, because these are people who are going to be mostly impacted by this. And so I would want to ensure that moving forward, I feel like we could include more steps and whatnot in educational campaigns, such that when it comes to taxing and whatnot, it's not only going to be incumbent on people who rely so heavily on this, who are low income, but in a way for them to move forward out of these addictive practices and whatnot. Other than that, I would like to extend that I support the measure. I just have the reservations of the taxing strategy, even given that inflation has been around 7% here in Guam and whatnot. So, like, we need to ensure that these addictive products can allow for survivors of addiction and whatnot to, empower them to make better choices and whatnot. Ang danggalin na si Just Masi, ni attention me too.
Sizos Masi, Representative Dehelig, Representative Gale, you're recognized.
Thank you. I would just like to say that I do reiterate what Kyle said. This will mostly affect those with a lower income, especially those who are already addicted, as a change in price will not affect purchasing choice as much compared to other matters. However, I still do voice my support for this bill, as a tax on vaping would be an efficient way to reduce adolescent participation. And I have read many studies that have shown that while most vape users who are already addicted to vaping will be less affected by price, those who have not yet been addicted, aka adolescent youth, will be much more inclined to be wary if prices start to change. And the reason why this is especially apparent in youth is that not all of them are addicted yet, so this would prevent them from starting, as well as the fact that most do not have a fixed income, meaning that a change in price will really sway decisions regarding whether to start vaping or not. So that's my opinion on why I support the bill. Thank you.
Sizos Masi, Representative Gale, Representative Valencia, you're recognized.
Thank you. Just wanted to ask a real quick question to one of the authors of the bill.
Vice Speaker LeBang, do you yield to a question?
I do.
Representative Valencia, you may proceed.
Okay, thank you. So, pursuant to 6A 103, subsection C, it references the Youth Tobacco Education and Prevention Fund. What exactly does that, I guess, fund go towards, aside from, that whole, the title, of course? Like, what exactly is the intent of funding that concern more so?
Thank you for that question. Actually, this is also coincides with Representative Dehig's concern that, this fund is directed for cessation on tobacco products among the youth. So with this fund, it also helps, the educational prospect on vaping as well. So I was gonna point that out actually on my closing statement as well. So that's what that fund entails.
Representative Valencia, does that satisfy your question?
Could I just follow up real quick on that?
You may proceed.
Yeah, thank you. So, but do you know exactly like what the curriculum entails in that education fund? Because there's a lot of complex approaches to, solving substance use disorders that, just the general idea of don't do drugs is quite simple-minded when it comes to helping people get out of those situations.
In terms of the curriculum and stuff, I'm not sure in that sense, but I think it's mostly what the current curriculum is like, educating the youth about the harmful usage of tobacco, and at the same time, we can also include the harmful uses of vaping as well.
Okay, thank you.
Sizos Masi, Representative Valencia. Does any other representative wish to speak on the matter? Bill number 3-33.
I do, Madam Speaker.
Legislative Secretary Yabut, you're recognized.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Yeah, I just had a question for the main sponsor of the bill before I get into some remarks.
Vice Speaker LeBain, do you yield to a question?
Yes.
I just wanted to know, have you talked to any of like the local business scene here? And if you haven't, I get it, that's okay. Like part of being in the youth congress is kind of like we have those obstacles, but if this bill passes, then what would be the burden of like the local, vape shops that they would have to carry in order for this tax to like go through? Like, would it be more expensive for them to purchase products? Like, how would they be impacted by this bill?
Thank you for that question. I would like to put your attention on subsection 6A108. So they would have to apply, or let's go back, section 6A107 sorry, 6A105. So they have to apply for a license in order to be able to sell their products. So just like tobacco and alcohol, they have to apply for alcohol and tobacco license in order to sell those products. So if you can see, like for retail, an annual retail license costs $1,000. An annual wholesaler license will be, or sorry, let me be corrected. The annual retail license is $100, and the annual wholesaler license will be $1,000. And of course, we kind of changed the way so besides that, we still tax, I think, or no, we don't tax anymore. It's just like, there's a tax on vapor products, which is a 40% rate per product. And of course, in order to sell those, they have to apply for a license. And if I would also add on to that I mostly worked with some of the youth in our community, which is like the Public Policy Institute, most of the time in terms of this bill. And I think they have more idea on working with the Department of Taxation and Revenue and also the business community.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. That's great information to know. I on this bill am a little bit uh skeptical of the correlation because most of your opening testimony, Mr. Vice Speaker, was about, reducing um and preventing vaping addiction within the youth. And everyone knows, like, by law, you cannot vape until you're 21. So the tax on like buying products doesn't really make sense with kind of like your overall mission of preventing vaping in the youth for me, like at least as like a direct correlation, because when the youth when students in high school start vaping, they obviously cannot buy their own products. They're going to find someone else to buy it for them and then give it to them, right? So I think I'm just a little bit like weary of this, and I'm looking forward to more discussion because the conversation has been really great so far. But I think if the main goal is to prevent smoking and vaping within like teens, because as we know, it is getting really popular, especially here, then we need to go beyond this. Like Representative Helix said, there needs to be some sort of like educational campaign within elementary schools and middle schools to let them know early on, like even before they get to the ages of around like 15 and 16 when it usually starts, that this is not something that you should get into. So yeah, I'm looking forward to more discussion, see what everyone else says. But I like the idea and like the overall intent of the bill. So yeah, thank you, Madam Speaker.
Sizos Mossy, Representative Yablad, Representative Common, you are recognized.
Thank you. I would first like to show my support for this bill. And going off from what Representative Yabut said about how we all know the law is you have to be 21 in order to vape, in order to smoke, in order to drink. I'm thinking that I think this tax, yes, it's going to it will affect the lower income consumer, but I think it would, in a way, probably discourage those family members of our youth, those under the age of 21, family members or friends or whoever, to make these purchases for their younger counterparts if we do tax it. And I do agree on the fact that we should have something, a better educational, a better educational program that will start really in elementary school. Because to be honest with you, as a teacher, I do see that it's already in the middle school. And when I was in middle school, it was there, and it's present in high school. But the culture that we live in and the culture that we are in is really something we have to really combat. Because what is one of the most popular shows right now on HBO Max? It's Euphoria. And that is a whole show about all these things about drinking, vaping, and hardcore drugs. And if that is what our youth are exposed to in media, I think we need to step up the game when it comes to educating them and really getting them at a young age. I know the drug-free program, the Red Ribbon program is very good in doing that and in promoting this in promoting these initiatives. But I think we need to be more frank with our younger students and tell them the health risks and really the how you can be addicted to it because of I forgot what it's called. It's when you're not if someone could help me, when you're not when you get off of it, it's I forgot what's it called. But yes, if we could really I think if we focus on the educational part, I think it would really help a lot. But I do support this bill, and I would like to thank um, Representative Labang and all the other representatives who have authored this bill. Thank you. That concludes my remarks.
Suzos Malasi, Representative Common. Would any other representative wish to speak on? Representative Flores, you're recognized.
Suzos Masi, Madam Speaker. Okay. I too would like to rise in support of the bill. I think despite the intent, the author's intent being primarily focused on youth and reducing vape usage, nicotine addiction, and all the cumulative subsequent effects of such, there is also the added benefit of reducing its use among the general population, whether they're youth or not. There are clearly public health effects, very harmful effects on individuals, on the greater public health of our community, among not just the youth, but among everyone in Guam. So I do believe that the added effect of taxing also those who are not just youth, because obviously you can't simply tax youth, will contribute to a public health benefit for the greater island. And then I would like to, I guess, bring to light some other initiatives that are being undertaken by the youth of Guam that kind of highlight just how important this issue is to youth, and how they themselves are trying to figure out ways to reduce vaping among their peers. Just last month, the Youth Advisory Council, the Governor's Youth Advisory Council, presented a quarterly report which indicated one of their priorities as a vape, or as limiting or reducing the use of vape products among youth. And some of their proposals also include a ban. So I did make them aware at the meeting that the Youth Congress does have a bill currently in discussion that seeks to put a tax on that, and they have their own plan as well. So hopefully we can collaborate on that should this bill pass in the Youth Congress. And then they also have various other solutions that they're considering in talks with stakeholders. They're considering something like a limit on where vape selling businesses can be located near schools, what times they can be open, so that youth are less able to actually go into these places. Because we do know what happens. We do know that youth will go to some places and potentially buy under the table, right, from these businesses, or ask their older counterparts to buy for them. So we do know that this is happening. I'm sure we've all experienced it in some way or the other. And then they also have a few measures that they're thinking of, such as implementing a vape flavor ban to kind of make these flavors less attractive to youth, things like the fruity or the sweet flavors. So it's really shown how important of an issue this is for our youth, and the fact that they're taking active steps to limit its usage among their peers, because they're clearly seeing the negative, the detrimental effects of what it's doing to those around them. And then just yesterday, we also received an email from an iBox representative seeking any advice or any info on what we're discussing as Youth Congress regarding vape products and any bans, because the iBox representatives are themselves looking into potential ways to strengthen the vape product ban in schools. So of course, it's a very widespread issue. It's an issue our youth are very aware of, and they're working to address it, which is great. And I think it's great that the Vice Speaker and the Youth Congress are taking this proactive step. So hopefully that if we do pass this bill, we can work together with our counterpart youth orgs and figure out the ways that everyone is discussing. To further strengthen our response, whether that be through education or through a media campaign or the like. Suzos Masi, Madam Speaker.
Suzos Masi, Representative Flores. Does any other representative wish to speak on the bill? Hearing or seeing none, Vice Speaker, you're welcome to close.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just want to thank everyone who expresses this support in the bill, and it's really a good step forward into eliminating the epidemic on youth vaping. in general, and I just want to move this to third reading file for voting.
Mrs. Osmasi, on the motion to move Bill number 3-33 to the third reading file for voting, are there any objections? Hearing or seeing none, motion passes. Moving on, Vice Speaker LeBang, you are recognized for Bill 12-33. Do I hear a motion?
Yes. Madam Speaker, I move to place Bill 12-33 to the second reading file.
On the motion to move Bill 12-33 to the second reading file for discussion, are there any objections? Hearing or seeing none, motion passes. Vice Speaker, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Last April session, we passed a resolution that would oppose a bill in the Guam legislature that would allow gun suppressors to be sold. Today, we are faced with a bill that would allow gun protection orders for any individuals. Just to address the elephant in the room, gun violence protection orders can be used as a tool to prevent violence and save lives. According to the U.S. Department of Justice research has shown that states can save lives by authorizing courts to issue extreme risk protection orders, or ERPOs, which is the main focus of the bill. Temporarily preventing a person in crisis from accessing a firearm, law enforcement, healthcare providers, community leaders, victim advocates, and others may not only help shape the appropriate scope of state's particular legislation, but also be critical to ensuring that people in the community are aware of the process for petitioning for an ERPO. The Giffords Law Center to Prevent Gun Violence and the Everytown for Gun Safety Support Fund are both organizations that describe their mission as to save lives and reduce gun violence. The Giffords Law Center describes extreme risk protection orders as life-saving tools that can prevent gun tragedies before they occur, and argued that the laws were being used to prevent mass shootings, suicide, terrorism, and other types of gun violence. The Everytown for Gun Safety Support Fund wrote on their website, when a person is in crisis, loved ones and law enforcement are often the first to see the warning signs. ERPO laws empower family members and law enforcement to petition for an order that temporarily removes gun from a dangerous situation and reduces the risk for suicide. In response to arguments that extreme protection orders violate the right to due process, Everytown for Gun Safety Support Fund pointed that provision in the extreme risk protection orders allowing individuals to subject to the order to appear in court for a full-length hearing. The Alliance for Guam Gun Responsibility, a group that supported Initiative 1491, a 2016 ballot measure in Washington State, on whether courts should be authorized to issue extreme risk protection orders, argued that ERPOs included careful protection for due process and stand for evidence. Furthermore, the American Bar Association urges state, local, territorial, and tribal governments to enact statutes, rules, or regulation authorizing courts to issue gun violence restraining orders, including ex parte orders. Additionally, the Johns Hopkins University Bloomberg School of Public Health find that many people who pose a high risk of harming themselves or someone else with a firearm can legally possess guns and would pass a background check required to purchase a new gun. State laws often do not provide a clear legal mechanism to restrict access to the guns before a tragedy occurs, even when it is clear that an individual is at risk of causing harm to herself or others. An ERPO is a civil order with due process protection issued by a court when someone is at risk of violence to self or others. Depending on state's ERPO law, family members, dating partners, household members, law enforcement, health professionals, co-workers, and school administrators may petition the court to temporarily restrict a person's access to firearms when he or she is behaving dangerously and at risk of committing violence. Recent gun violence on island has occurred within the last year, where a lifeless man was found in Swamp Road, Derrido, where a man used an unregistered pistol to kill another individual. Another incident involving a man on pre-release trial, which, according to the magistrate complaint, police responded to Derrido Skate Park on April 27 of last year for a complaint involving 2 cars. Benny Joshua Salas, 30, was the driver of silver Toyota Corolla. A call to police reported seeing the same vehicle speeding through the village trying to stop a car. The caller also reported hearing a gunshot in the other car the woman who said was trying to leave to get grocery when she got into an argument with Nato. As recent as July 14 last year, a viral video that shows a man pointing a pellet rifle at cars that are passing through just here in Nagana has been reported. Imagine if it is a real gun. Madam Speaker and colleagues, these are instances and reason why we should have a gun protection order in our island. Others may say that we should broaden this and include other weapons. I disagree with that statement because it diverts us away from the issue of gun control. By broadening the scope of this bill would make it not adhere to standing rules even, because it would not be a one subject matter bill. And if you wish to include other weapons, I suggest that you should create a separate bill by addressing that. But let us not forget horrific school mass shooting events in our nation's history. Columbine in 1999, Sandy Hook in 2012, Stoneman Douglas in 2018. As a teacher that just entered the Guam public school, we must protect our schools and our students. Students do not need to learn how to dodge a bullet with a fast average velocity of 2,350 feet per second, but learn the content that they're supposed to learn in school. As of April 2021, there have been 150 mass shootings that happened within that year. I agree with President Biden that gun violence in this country is an epidemic and it is becoming an international embarrassment. Colleagues, Second Amendment, and I quote, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of free state, the right of the people to keep bear arms shall not be infringed. A well-regulated means that we shall put regulation on gun ownership, and Bill 12-33 does not impede Second Amendment on any individual. Even though gun violence data on our island is very low at the moment, we shall do anything that we can do to keep it low and preventing a more severe act of gun violence from taking place. Let us not deny that we have gun control problem not only on our island, but the whole nation. Let us not find reason to divert us from passing the Gun Protection Act of 2021. And I'll be open for questions.
Suzos Mossy, Vice Speaker Labang. Before we proceed, we're going to take a brief recess. The 33rd Guam Youth Congress is back from recess. Carrying on from our last, we were going to be accepting any remarks or comments or questions to Vice Speaker LeBang's bill 12-33. I know we had Legislative Secretary Yabut raise her hand.
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker. I'll just like start out with saying I really do support this bill. I think it is, amongst like all the bills that we've introduced, this is definitely very well thought out. I love that there are limitations on the seizure of firearms, and then the person, if there's something being filed against a person, they can file for a hearing to, kind of go against the hearing. And, in an era where gun violence in America is becoming a very regular thing, I think this is very timely. And I know it's not as prevalent an issue here as it is in the mainland or, in the States, but in an island so small, we do hear about gun violence pretty often for a place with a population of our size. And I think this is a great first step. And especially because, like Vice Speaker mentioned in his testimony, it really doesn't infringe at all on, the right to bear arms. It's really just, preventative safety measures that we can take to ensure, the safety of our population, which is something that we're always looking at, helping and safeguarding. So yes, I rise in support of this bill. I thank the main sponsor for putting it on today's agenda, and that will conclude my remarks. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Sisos Maasi, Legislative Secretary Yabut, any other representative wish to speak? Representative Makepeace?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise in support of this bill. However, I had a few questions that I want to ask the sponsor.
Thank you. Will Vice Speaker yield to a question?
Yes.
Representative Makepeace, you may proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Mr. Vice Speaker, I had a couple questions. First and foremost, I believe it is page 7. Hold on, sorry. Page 8, lines 4 through 7. I had a question as to if the individual, other than the named individual in the gun violence prevention warrant, it says that the firearm may be seized if it is not properly stored. In that case, if they were to, after the fact, and get a storage mechanism that could keep it separate from the individual named in the prevention warrant, would they be able to have their firearm returned to them earlier than the length of the warrant?
Sorry, can I ask you to repeat your question?
Yes, sorry. So in page 8, lines 4 through, says that firearm owned by an individual other individual named in the gun violence prevention warrant, he seized if the firearm isn't properly stored. So my question was, would that person be able to get their firearm back from the law enforcement body if they purchase a way to keep it secure away from the individual in the warrant?
Yes. According to that clause, yes.
Okay. I had a second question on if you don't mind me asking, why did you choose the usage of one written request for the right to request a hearing?
Oh, okay. So just The hearing, so if you go to, is that on page 12?
The right to request hearing is on page, I believe that is page 8.
Page 8.
Line 22 through 26.
Line 22. It's just like, so the hearing is basically the process. So a written request may be given at any time during any period. I think, just to request for the hearing, you would need to submit a written request first before a hearing would take place. It's
And then
just
I
like common law practice, like before a hearing happens, there is like, submission of paperwork or like, testimony on why this hearing should proceed.
Okay. And then I had one final question. My final question says, what's it called? Here on page 11, lines 3 through 6, return of firearms. It says the court shall return the firearms to the named individual in a timely manner. What would be an appropriate timely manner that at least you are believing it should be around, if you don't mind me asking?
I think it's up to the court to decide on that. And I feel the court sometimes is overwhelmed, so I don't want to give them a certain time period that they have to adhere to. So just for more liberality, like the court is basically the arbiter of the law, and I think it should be up to them to find on the time frame on how they should return the gun.
Okay, thank you.
Sizos Mossy, Representative Makepeace. Would any other representative wish to speak on the bill?
Here.
Representative Common, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So I do support this bill. With the times that we are living in, there is a need for it, and really, with the statistics and the events that we see going on around us, this bill is necessary. But I would just like to ask a question to Vice Speaker Labang
Vice
regarding.
Speaker, do you yield to a question?
Yes.
Representative Common, you may proceed.
Thank you. Regarding the definitions, when we have definitions, I believe it is section 6 on page 4 with a family member. Does that include also, for example, like ex-family members? For example, a divorce, if let's say the spouse was divorced, or yes, if the spouse was divorced, because there was a case in, I believe, and it deals with Erica's house, where it was the ex-husband who shot and killed his ex-wife and his daughter. Will that include, would the person be, could the individual who can make the request, can that be also an ex-family member? And that's my question.
That's a good idea, Representative Comment. I'm actually open on adding that provision to this definition so that it will be more clear.
Okay, thank you so much, Vice Speaker Labang. Thank you.
And
Sizos Mossy, Representative Common. Any other representative wish to speak?
I would like to speak on it.
Is that Representative Franchino?
Camacho. Representative Camacho.
Oh, my apologies. Representative Camacho, you're recognized.
So I'd like to start off that I do support the intent of the bill. Gun violence, it should be prevented, and that's important. But what's also important is protecting due process of law. And the way this bill is trying to prevent gun violence, that's where it's structurally flawed. I'm not talking about protecting the Second Amendment. I'm not talking about that preventing gun violence is not important, but the way this bill is trying to prevent gun violence, that's where the flaw is. And as youth Congress representatives, any legislation that we propose, any legislation that we consider, any legislation that we pass as a body, it must be consistent with the United States Constitution and the Organic Act of Guam, which we each swore to protect and uphold. So now the fundamental problem of this legislation as written is that it strips an individual's rights to due process. So essentially, it empowers the accuser, the family member, the ability to make allegations of another, where that accuser, who may or may not have an axe to grind to strip that accused family member of a right, now further strips the accused family member of the right to confront his or her accuser prior to his or her rights being stripped and extinguished. Moreover, it strips the accused family member of his or her rights without the ability to present evidence. Now, as we know, if someone doesn't get a fair and just trial, that trial wouldn't work, it wouldn't uphold. So once something is stripped from you without being afforded a hearing, there is no way to make you whole again. The hearing after the fact, as it's stated in the legislation, it's insufficient to remedy the inherent wrong because a record has already been established against you. Now, the bill does not even establish the recourse that the accused has when that testimony is proven wrong. So can you imagine how that record can have an impact in your ability to obtain gainful employment or to obtain benefits? So when you're deciding on your decision whether or not to vote for this bill, keep these 3 points in mind. First, there is already certain reliefs that are available. For example, there is an order of protection under the 7 GCA Chapter 40, Protection of Abuse, and under that statute, an individual is stripped of certain rights if the following is shown. 1, to attempt to cause or intentionally or knowingly or recklessly causing bodily injury with or without a deadly weapon. 2, placing by physical menace another fear of imminent serious bodily injury. And the second point is that fear, as the bill states, it's too broad of a standard to apply. It's too ambiguous with how complex this bill is. So we each have our own problems and different tolerance to certain things. What is normal behavior for one family may not be acceptable for another. So the way there is no definition for fear, and the way this bill is utilizing that word fear, it's too broad of a standard to apply with this. Now, as noted above, thus a record is established against an individual based upon a person's fear. Now, that's not acceptable. Moreover, although it states that the Attorney General's office must keep a confidential record, nothing was mentioned about the proceedings in court from being sealed. Note that even an order of protection hearing is open to the public. Only certain cases are sealed. So those cases are generally reserved for juvenile guardianship and adoption proceedings. Now, third, the standard of the bill of reasonable suspicion is simply unacceptable. Under our Constitution, we cannot strip anyone of their rights unless it is by preponderance of evidence. So with this, I do support the intent of the bill. The intent of the bill is to prevent gun violence, but the way this bill is structured, it's inherently flawed, and it wouldn't be able to uphold and promote the intent of the bill, which is why it should not be passed. If it's not passed, then we have time to discuss this bill more. We have time to make the structure promotes the Constitution, promote the Organic Act of Guam, but right now, the way this bill and framework is held, it's not going to be able to prevent gun violence in the way you intend.
Sizos Malasi, Representative Camacho. Representative Flores, you're recognized.
Sizos Masi, Madam Speaker. I too share the same sentiments of concern as Representative Camacho. I do have a question for the main sponsor, should he so yield.
Vice Speaker LeBang, do you yield to a question?
Sure.
Sizos Masi. I guess if we could just get a brief rundown of the process, because as I understand it, If we look at page 5, it says that once a gun violence prevention order is, I guess, submitted to the court, it says here that the court may, before issuing a gun violence prevention order, examine under oath the individual who applied for the order. But as Representative Camacho stated, it doesn't indicate that the person who the order would affect, right, who the order would remove a firearm for, is not given that same due diligence. So I guess I'm just asking for the process and if we need to reconsider mandating that the court does bring that other individual and give them a fair hearing. Just Masi.
Sizos Masi, Representative Flores. Would any other representative wish to speak? Oh, my apologies. Vice Speaker LeBang, your response?
Yeah, sorry. Because I thought there's no question with that statement. Can you?
Oh, the question was, can we please get a brief rundown of the process once someone does submit a gun violence prevention order to the court and up to the point where the gun violence prevention order is issued and executed?
So, of course, there's going to be like an application, and you can see that part B of that section states that examination of applicant and witness. So, the court can examine that, and also an appeal process can happen anytime in any period of the hearing. I can see that happening in here. And if you run through one moment, sorry, I'm looking for that provision. Sorry. In the hearing process, actually, it can happen, like there's going to be a hearing first before an order is issued, and that should be the step moving forward. And I think just like a warrant, so if you can see this, it's more like of a warrant for a temporary seizure. It doesn't necessarily state that it's going to be a total seizure or something. But at the same time, seizing the gun would just like prevent during the hearing process, and with that, it's up to the judge or judiciary to determine that.
Sizos Masi, Vice Speaker, Representative Flores.
Sizos Masi, Mr. Vice Speaker and Madam Speaker. In that case, I would like to propose an amendment. I'm going to upload it to the drive real quick. But the amendment, what it does is page 5, lines 20 through 24. It changes the language from, sorry, just a sec, I'm uploading it to the thing. It says it changes the language from the individual requesting the order. It says, and it changes the language from may to shall. So the Superior Court shall, before issuing a gun violence prevention order, 1, examine under oath the individual who applied for the order. So that would be the individual requesting the order. And then 2, examine under oath the individual who may be subject to the order under the subsection, and any witnesses the individual produces. So this here provides the individual who may be subject to this order the opportunity to present themselves in court. Well, not actually the opportunity, it's just they are required to attend and present themselves before the court that may issue the order. So this ensures that both parties, the requesting party as well as the party that this would have an effect on, would both be present in court and be able to bring witnesses. And I believe that addresses the concerns of myself and Representative Camacho. And I'd also like to point out, Madam Speaker, that page 9 of the bill, line 16 through 25, do set forth the burden of proof that is necessary, and delegate the authority, I guess, to establish that burden of proof to the Attorney General's office. And it also says here that the Superior Court may establish a burden of proof for hearings conducted under the subsection that is higher than the burden of proof required by the subsection. So should the court rule that the burden of proof required by the law is insufficient, they can and do have the authority to establish a burden of proof that is greater, depending on any circumstances that may arise. So yes, let me upload this amendment and Sizos Masi.
Sizos Masi, Representative Flores. While Representative Flores is uploading the amendment, we're going to take a brief recess. So that way all representatives have time to review the amendment before we discuss. Sizos Masi. We are back from recess. Picking up from where we left off, we had the Flores amendment. Has the representatives have time to review the amendment? I don't see any objections. Would any representative wish to speak on the amendment? Vice Speaker LeBang, you're recognized.
I would like to thank Representative Flores for this amendment, and it really clarifies the bill better, and I give my full support on this amendment is all.
Mrs. Osmasi, Vice Speaker LeBang, would any other representative wish to speak on the amendment? Okay, hearing or seeing none. Representative, my apologies. Representative DeHelig, you are recognized to speak on the amendment.
So just Mossy, sorry, it's kind of like wonky working with the stuff, so that's why I was kind of late to the reaction thing. I do have a question though. I don't know if I could pose this question to Representative Camacho. Would this line or amendment being added solve the issues that were brought up, your concerns that were brought up earlier?
Excuse me, Representative DeHelig, unfortunately your questions would be posed to the sponsor of the amendment, which is Representative Flores.
Okay, could I ask that question to Representative Flores?
Yes, sir, you may proceed.
Okay, thank you. So the question would be, with the concerns brought forth by Representative Camacho in earlier testimony, is the new amendment going to satisfy or at least address the issues that were brought up, such as the right to due process and whatnot?
Well, that's for the body to decide in voting, but I do think in proposing the amendment that it does address the issues that I had with the bill, as well as Representative Camacho. Well, I won't speak for Representative Camacho of whether this addresses the entirety of her issues, but for me, the issue of due process and only having one side of the order be present, this does address that and ensures that both parties are present and able to bring witnesses to both plead their case before the court. And the AG, of course, the court still retains the authority to ensure that the burden of proof is sufficient and that these orders aren't just being submitted and just being stamped, right, as they pass through the courts, and that they're going through the due process, given their due diligence within the justice system. So yes, I do believe this does address my concerns with the bill.
Mrs. Osmasi, Representative Flores, Representative DeHelig, does that satisfy your question?
Hunga, and I have follow-up questions if I may.
Yes, sir, you may proceed.
So just Masi. So a follow-up question would be, from your understanding, do you believe that the amendment will coincide with the Organic Act as well as federal regulations? Like, does that fall under our jurisdiction of creating this law?
Sure, so I guess you're speaking to the subject of the greater bill, in which there are 19 other jurisdictions that have similar provisions, 19 other jurisdictions, including Washington, D.C., that do have gun violence prevention order acts. Yeah, so the bill in its entirety, I believe, is organic. Of course, I can't provide a real legal opinion, but there are similar measures, very similar measures, and this is closely modeled both in the other jurisdictions and in Guam, something that already exists, a domestic violence prevention order, which is specific to domestic violence, and of course this opens that up and carries a definition over to firearms that may be used in a crime or in extreme violence situations.
Representative DeHelig, before you proceed, kindly asking that you keep your questions in line to the amendment. We are speaking on the amendment, not the entirety of the bill just yet. Mrs. Osmasi, Representative DeHelig, before you proceed, is your next question pertaining to the amendment?
I don't have another question, but it's more just like a closing on the amendment.
All right, you may proceed.
Sujasmasi. I would like to extend my appreciation for the introduction of this resolution. Sorry, not the resolution. This amendment, as it addresses some of the concerns that were brought up earlier in prior testimonies. I do want to say though that I'm not like an expert in gun protection and the ways of the court and how this might imply like judicial work. But I do want to say that this amendment helps, how do I say this, address those issues. And I hope for the passage of this amendment.
Sizos Mossy, Representative Dehelig, do any of the representatives wish to speak on the amendment? Okay, hearing or seeing none. Representative Flores, you are welcome to close on the amendment.
Sizos Mossy, Madam Speaker, I hope for my colleagues is favorable support of the amendment, favorable vote on the amendment, as well as the bill to address the issues. Sizos Mossy.
Sizos Mossy, Representative Flores, we're going to be voting on the amendment now. Are there any objections to the Flores amendment? Hearing or seeing none, amendment passes. Going back to the bill number 12-33, do any other representatives wish to speak? Representative Dehelig, unfortunately, you spoke already. My apologies,
No, I only
Representative
spoke on
Dehelig.
the amendment, yeah.
Thank you for the clarification, the correction. You're welcome to speak.
Sujasmasi, Madam Speaker, I reserved my testimony or my comments towards the last because this is something that's like a very big in understanding. So I was looking to hear the thoughts of the body. And although I do appreciate the intent of the bill, which is to protect our peoples from gun violence, I believe that this bill has power to do so. However, I do have some of the same concerns brought up by Representative Camacho. And so I'm on the fence of how I will vote in favor of the bill, just because there are some of those concerns still resonating. However, my idea is that I will seek to vote in favor of this bill just because of the implications that of the message that we're trying to get across. And I hope that when this, or if this gets transmitted out of our body and in support to the legislature, that we all work out those or address those issues that moving forward. But I believe that overall, this works towards bringing the attention of gun violence prevention to the main table. And so I look forward to the passage of this bill.
Sizos Mossy, Representative Dehelig, do any other representatives wish to speak on the bill? Hearing or seeing none. Vice Speaker LeBang, you're welcome to close.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just want to point out, and this is, I think, also in the supplemental documents for the bill, and I do have a communication from the courts dated July 1, 2021. I just want to quote on the letter that upon the review of Guam Congress Bill 12-33 COR, the proposed legislation is a policy matter to be decided by our legislative body. Should the 36th Guam legislature introduce and request public testimony on such or related proposed legislation, the judiciary will review the matter and respond accordingly. And before this, I've asked them about the organicity of this bill, and I think this is the answer that I got from the court. And I just want to thank Representative Flores for making that amendment, and with that, I make a motion to add him as co-sponsor on this bill.
Sizos Mossy, Vice Speaker LeBang, on the motion to add Representative Flores as a co-sponsor to Bill 12-33, are there any objections? Hearing or seeing none, motion passes.
Thank
Vice
you.
Speaker LeBang, your motion?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just want to make a motion to place Bill 12-33 to the voting file.
Susan Masi, Vice Speaker. On the motion to place Bill 12-33 as amended on the floor to be moved to third reading file for voting, are there any objections? Hearing or seeing none, motion passes. We are back on motions. Representative DeHelig, you are recognized for your resolution 15-33.
Susan Masi, Madam Speaker. I move to place Resolution 1533 into the second reading file.
Susan Masi, Representative DeHelig. On the motion to move Resolution 15-33 as introduced into the second reading file for discussion, are there any objections? Hearing or seeing none, motion passes. Representative DeHelig, you may proceed.
Susan Masi. Buenas and Hafaday, Manhoban Guahans and Comunidad. Resolution 1533 has one focus, which is to ensure that we hold our local government accountable to the future that we wish to thrive in. Public Law 3546 mandates the Guam Power Authority to establish a portfolio goal of 100% renewable energy by 2045. However, Guam should not have to trade off beautiful, pristine areas and destroy cultural sites for the sake of solar farms. Resolution 1533 cries out the negligent behavior and destructive mismanagement of companies that have monopolized our energy grid. We cannot trust that KEPCO and their friends who face allegations of faking certificates, knowing the risk of stormwater runoff, failing to implement erosion and sediment control plans, and shoulders responsibility for the explosion in Cabras, is going to safely build a new facility with brand new technology so that they can burn dirty fossil fuel energy right outside our schools. Those who have made the decision to empower KEPCO and the fossil fuel industry have deadlocked our generation to a life sentence of dirty energy that they won't be suffering for the consequences of their mistakes. We will, our children will. Back in 1993, Public Law 2233 was passed with near unanimous support by the legislature, 14 of the 15 with one being absent. Students, teachers, and staff expressed great concerns about air quality and safety, and what was relevant back in 1993 reverberates today. The legislature in 1993 realized the worth of protecting our schools and our students and families. We cannot go back on our promise today. We cannot continue to perpetuate the greed of the fossil fuel industry. And if you're asking for alternatives, we already have the answers. We need this legislature to reintroduce Bill 21935, which would allow public, charter, and collegiate institutions to serve as properties eligible for installation of solar panels to aid in attaining a lower cost for cleaner electricity production, and to provide strengthened legislation to the purchase of leaseback renewable energy. We have the power to enact the change we need, and so I humbly ask the body for your support. Ang dangkalun na Suzus Masi, maraming salamat po, thank you niso.
Susan Masi, Representative DeHelig. Do any other representatives wish to speak on Resolution 15-33? Representative Flores, you are recognized.
Susan Masi, Madam Speaker. I too would like to rise in support of the resolution and thank Representative DeHelig for spearheading this for the body. I believe the public hearing for the bill, which would exempt the Guam Power Authority from this requirement of the law, was held last Thursday, but I believe the committee is still accepting testimonies should any member wish to submit testimony in line with the resolution that opposes the bill, which I do think, as Representative DeHelig said, we have a very strong interest and a strong stake in this for ourselves and for our children. Of course, the immediate effects of a power plant, the effects on the environment, the effects on it being so close to a school aren't going to be seen right away, or don't seem significant, but in several years and several decades, right? Years down the line, we're going to start to see the effects of these things and the effects of our decision as an island to further fossil fuel development. It's curious because originally when they proposed the large power plant to be built up in the Ukudu area, it was portrayed as this end-all, be-all situation to our energy woes in Guam, our load shedding issues, our power outages, and although I did provide testimony against the power plant due to the fact that it kind of prioritized fossil fuels over the renewable energies that we needed, and they went with KEPCO, that was a proposing agency that, like Representative Helix stated, has a very problematic past. I voiced my support, my opposition to the power plant, and yet we still saw that measure pulling through, and now they're coming back with this measure that exempts them from the law, a law that was passed for good reason to protect the health of our children. And I really think what's happening here is that they're pursuing the most convenient option when in reality that convenience does not outweigh the cumulative effect that it will have on us and those that come after us. So we really, as the youth of Guam, need to rise up through this resolution firstly, and then also by submitting our own testimony to the Guam legislature to oppose the construction of this and push for more accountable and more, not reliable, more accountable energy solutions for our island.
So Zosmasi, Representative Flores, does any other representatives wish to speak on the resolution? Vice Speaker LeBang, you're recognized, and then after will be Representative Makepeace.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleagues, I just want to voice my support within this resolution, and yeah, I do believe that we need to protect our students, especially I actually went host your years for 1 year, and it's really a good place for me. It has a sentimental place for me as a student, and as a teacher now, I do see that we need to protect everyone in the community, especially the most vulnerable, especially our teachers who has been on the front lines despite of this pandemic. And, it's really hard for us teachers to navigate through this situation, but at the same time, we can have other ways on how we can acquire our energy, and I think we should move forward to that kind of alternatives instead of relying on fossil fuel. But at the same time, we need to think about how would we be able to provide energy to the whole island. And there's a lot of factors, a lot of constraints that we need to look at as well. And through STEM and technology, I believe that we can find something. We can find an innovative approach to our problem and, our energy. And moving to renewable energy is something that I think can be interesting because it provides our students also in the future a better place to live in, and we expect our students to do excel in school. And I think one way to do is probably as teachers, we can also we can scaffold our students' intelligence, learning, and also challenge them in a way that we can find an alternative way. And also, same thing with the Guam Power Authority. And I believe that every engineers that you guys have, I think you guys should find a way, find a solution on how can we can have a renewable energy here on island. And that can happen. It's just more on research, more on studying. And I think with the lot that's very near host areas, let's not endanger the students in that school, because they're there to find and make a good solution for our island. And that's why everyone should, be able to go to school safely without any without any concerns that they would have. And I believe that's why I support this resolution.
Suzos Mossy, Vice Speaker Labang, do any other, my apologies. Representative Makepeace, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I too would like to support this resolution and show my support. This resolution has a great deal that's going for it. Primarily doing this for the youth. The Youth Congress is trying to make sure that the youth, not only of today, but of tomorrow, have the opportunity to not deal with these chemicals and these plants being right next to them as they're going throughout their lives. And I feel that this is a very important resolution, and I support it.
Suzos Mossy, Representative Makepeace, do any other representatives wish to speak on the resolution? Hearing or seeing none, Representative Dahila, you're welcome to close.
This is Masi. I move to place bill resolution 15-33 into third reading file.
Suzos Mossy, Representative Dahila, on the motion to place Resolution 15-33 into the third reading file for voting, are there any objections? Hearing or seeing none, motion passes. Suzos Mossy, going back to our agenda. Representative Makepeace, on your motion to have second roll call reflect first roll call.
Madam Speaker, I make a motion to have second roll call reflect first roll call.
I don't know if Representative Camacho is here. I'm sorry to interject.
Suzos Mossy, we will take a brief recess. One moment, please. We are back from recess. We will, item 17 of the agenda will be second roll call. We will begin. Representative Camacho. Representative Chung. Representative Chung, present. Representative Common.
Present.
Representative DeHelig.
Disagreed to.
Representative DeHelig, present. Representative DeGracia.
Present.
Representative DeGracia, present. Representative Flores.
Gagizo.
Representative Flores, present. Representative Gale.
Present.
Representative Gale, present. Vice Speaker Labang.
Present.
Vice Speaker Labang, present. Representative Chloe Lazama.
Present.
Representative Chloe Lazama, present. Representative Makepeace.
Present.
Representative Makepeace, present. Representative Mansanani. Representative Pareda. Representative Kichicho. Representative Ujoa.
Present.
Representative Ujoa, present. Representative Valencia.
Present.
Representative Valencia, present. Representative Villanueva. Representative Wang. Representative Yabut.
Present.
Representative Yabut, present. Majority Leader Makepeace, your motion to excuse members not present.
Madam Speaker, I make a motion to excuse members not present as excused.
Sizos Mossy, there's been a motion to excuse members not present. Are there any objections? Hearing or seeing none, motion passes. Moving on to item 18 of our agenda, consideration of the daily file, voting file. Okay. Bill number 3-33 as substituted by the Committee on Appropriations, Taxation, General Government Operation, and Municipal Affairs, sponsored by Vice Speaker Al Labang and Speaker Stephanie Lorenzo, an act to add a new Chapter 6A to Title 11, Division 1 of Guam Code Annotated relative to establishing a liquid vaping product, tax, and licensing of the retail and wholesale of distributing electronic cigarettes, which shall be cited as the Guam Vaping Product Taxing and Licensing Act of 2021. Representative Chung.
Aye.
Representative Chung, aye. Representative Common.
Hungan.
Representative Common, aye. Representative DeHelig.
Again.
Representative DeHelig, aye. Representative DeGracia.
Aye.
Representative DeGracia, aye. Representative Flores.
Again.
Representative Flores, aye. Representative Gale.
Aye.
Representative Gale, aye. Vice Speaker Labang.
Aye.
Vice Speaker Labang, aye. Representative Chloe Lazama.
Aye.
Representative Chloe Lazama, aye. Speaker Lorenzo, aye. Representative Makepeace.
Aye.
Representative Makepeace, aye. Representative Ujoa.
Aye.
Representative Ujoa, aye. Representative Valencia.
Nay.
Representative Valencia, nay. Legislative Secretary Yabut.
Aye.
Aye. Bill number 3-33 received 12 ayes, 1 nay. My apologies, bill number 3-33 received 12 ayes, 1 nay. This bill has been passed by this body. Okay, moving on. Bill number 12-33 as amended on the floor, sponsored by Vice Speaker Al Labang, Representative Alexander Gale, Representative Villanueva, Representative Chloe Lazama, Representative Nico Valencia. An act to add a new Chapter 93 to Title 9 Guam Code Annotated relative to providing family members of an individual who they fear is a danger to himself, herself, or others new tools to prevent gun violence, and to cite this act as the Gun Violence Prevention Order Act of 2021. Representative Chung.
Aye.
Representative Chung, aye. Representative Common.
Pass.
Okay. Representative DeHelig.
Pass.
Representative DeGracia.
Aye.
Representative DeGracia, aye. Representative Flores.
Again.
Representative Flores, aye. Representative Gale.
Aye.
Representative Gale, aye. Vice Speaker Labang.
Aye.
Representative Vice Speaker Labang, aye. Representative Chloe Lazama.
Nay.
Representative Chloe Lazama, nay. Speaker Stephanie Lorenzo, aye. Representative Makepeace.
Pass.
Representative Pass. Representative Ujoa.
Nay.
Representative Ujoa, nay. Representative Valencia.
Aye.
Rep- Representative Valencia, aye. Legislative Secretary Yabut.
Aye.
Representative Yabut, aye. Representative Common.
Nay.
Representative Common, nay. Representative DeHelig.
Again.
Representative DeHelig, aye. Representative Makepeace.
Pass.
Representative Makepeace. Representative Makepeace.
Nay.
Representative Makepeace, nay. Sizos Maasi, with a vote of 9 ayes, 4 nays, Bill number 12-33 as amended has passed this body. Sizos Maasi, moving on, Resolution 15-33. As introduced by Representative Kyle DeHelig, relative to expressing Imina Trensai Trust na Congression Manhoban Guahans, opposition to Bill 213-36 titled An Act to Add New Subsection 8119A to Chapter 8, Title 12, Guam Code Annotated, establishing an exemption for the construction of new 41 megawatt Cabra Ultra low sulfur diesel units on Lot 261 and 25A U.S. Navy APRA Harbor Reservation, and expressing concern over Guam Power Authority's renewable energy plan. Representative Chung?
Pass.
Pass. Representative Common?
Pass.
Representative Common, pass. Representative DeHelig?
Again.
Representative DeHelig, aye. Representative DeGracia?
Aye.
Representative DeGracia, aye. Representative Flores?
Ungan.
Representative Flores, aye. Representative Gale?
Aye.
Representative Gale, aye. Vice Speaker LeBang?
Aye.
Vice Speaker LeBang, aye. Representative Chloe Lazama?
Aye.
Representative Lazama, aye. Speaker Lorenzo, aye. Representative Makepeace?
Aye.
Representative Makepeace, aye. Representative Ujoa?
Aye.
Representative Valencia?
Aye.
Legislative Secretary Yabut?
Aye.
Sizos Maasi, Resolution 15-33 has my apologies. Thank you for the correction. Representative Chung?
Aye.
Representative Chung, aye. Representative Common?
Hungan.
Representative Common, aye. Resolution 15-33 has received unanimous support. It is duly passed by this body. Moving on to next item of our agenda, brief extensions of remarks. Would any of the representatives wish to speak? Vice Speaker, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just want to thank every representative that's here today, also on Zoom. And it's just, we're moving towards an innovative approach on how we hold our session. And with the pandemic, I know there's more than 20 of us, and it's kind of hard to social distance on the session hall, especially due to the space. And I just look forward to have more sessions like this. And yeah, it's very convenient for every one of us, especially if you don't have a ride coming to your session. And I would like to thank everyone who voted in favor of Bill 3 and 12, and I look forward to making good discussions for those who did not. And hopefully we can find something in order to make a bill that we can all agree on. Okay? That's all. Thank you.
Sizos Masi, Vice Speaker Labang, before we proceed, we're actually going to go back into the voting file. Due to an administrative error, we will be taking the vote records for Representative Megan Franchino. My apologies for that. So going back to Bill number 3-33, Representative Franchino.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. With the newly vote, Bill number 3-33 received unanimous support. It is duly passed by this body. Moving on, Bill number 12-33, Representative Megan Franchino.
Aye.
Sizos Maasi. Bill number 12-33 received 10 ayes, 4 nays. It is duly passed by this body. Resolution 15-33, Representative Megan Franchino.
Aye.
Sizos Maasi. Resolution 15-33 has received unanimous support and it is passed by this body. Sizos Maasi representatives, we are back to brief extensions of remarks. Representative Valencia, you're recognized.
Yes, so just real quick, a few comments on Bill 3-33. Like, it was understood that it would pass, and the studies of the bill do what it is intended, and that intent is to reduce, e-cigarette use and what have you, right? But when it comes to understanding, I guess, the intricacies of that, e-cigarettes are in a sense like a substitute for regular cigarettes. So a few studies in the US, I know it's rather late, but a few studies in the US have found that with every 10% increase in e-cigarette prices, there was then, of course, 26% reduction in e-cigarette sales, but directly almost like correlating with the traditional cigarette sales. Like, for every 10% increase in e-cigarette price, there was an 11% increase in traditional cigarette consumption. Now, this was a US study and it was only restricted to the US. So I hope that come a few years, we can, if this bill is eventually passed in the legislature, we can re-examine the data and approach it more effectively in a way that considers the likelihoods of people buying products relative to the taxes levied on them. Thank you.
Sizos Maasi, Representative Valencia. Any other representative wish to be recognized? Representative Chloe Lazama.
Yes, thank you. I hope everyone's doing well, first and foremost. And iBogs recently sent, if you're a GDOE student, iBogs recently sent an email to all the GDOE students. It's a mental health survey, basically asking how the students are doing, how the pandemic affects our education. So if you have received that email, I highly encourage you to fill it out. Thank you.
Sizos Maasi, Representative Lazama. Representative Dahila, you're recognized.
Sizos Maasi, Madam Speaker, and I would like to extend my congratulations and great gratitude towards this body. We continue to advocate for the environment. We continue to hold our government accountable to environmental issues, and we're all doing it together unanimously. And so this is not an issue that separates us, but brings us all together. And so I am greatly appreciative of the work that we continue to strive towards protecting our environment, protecting our youth, and ensuring the safety of each and every one of us moving forward. Dankulun Sizos Maasi.
Sizos Maasi, Representative Dahila. Does any other representative wish to be recognized? Representative Flores.
Sizos Maasi, Madam Speaker. Yes, so on Resolution 15-33, I know Representative Dahila did mention the reintroduction or the urging of the Guam legislature to reintroduce, I believe it was Bill 219-35. And of course, I'd recommend and suggest to the body and to Representative Dahila that we actually be the ones to introduce that in the Youth Congress and make it go through the motions, through our discussion, through our debate, through our voting process, and then have it transmitted to the Guam legislature. We've seen the success of what we as a body can do and how we can get something that we want, that the youth of Guam want, and that we discuss and deliberate on, present that to the Guam legislature, and where it goes through its due process there. And we saw it come to life and go into law with the Period Poverty Act. So really, I just like to highlight that and stress that rather than potentially waiting on the legislature to introduce a bill that we'd like to see, we do it ourselves in our body and then send it there should it so pass, right? And then on another note, I'd just like to thank everyone for your patience with the hybrid session. I think it was very successful for our first one. So a pat on the back to each of us. I prefer having everyone in here, but I think this was pretty convenient considering the circumstances. Sizosmasi.
Sizosmasi, Representative Flores, and just to express the same sentiment, I cannot thank each and every one of you for your patience and your understanding for our first hybrid sessions. There were some kinks on the road throughout the session, but I really do appreciate your patience, your ability to help with our technical problems and just everything in between. As you know, we had a significant rise in numbers as we start the surge right now. But really, this is the best way that we can to keep each other safe, keep our families safe, but still get some work done. So thank you once again. I really do appreciate it. And do any other representatives wish to speak for brief extensions of remarks? Okay, hearing or seeing none, we're moving on to announcements. Any representative wish to be recognized? Hearing or seeing none, moving on, adjournment. Representative Makepeace, you're recognized.
Madam Speaker, I move to adjourn this session subject to call of the Speaker.
There's been a motion to adjourn subject to the call of the Speaker. Are there any objections? Hearing or seeing none, motion passes. We are adjourned. Sizosmasi.